lounging, son.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan, and today we're going to be talking about Flash 762 and the Dark Knight's Death Metal Speed Metal. Yeah, I know it's kind of a mouthful, but the reason we're talking about both comics is because this past week, Joshua Williamson ended his long run on Flash. He wrote over, if you include annuals and the one shots, he wrote 107 Flash comics over the course of the past 4 years, give or take. I just wanted to talk about the end of his run. If you follow the Comic Lounge, whether it's from our Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, the website, and now we have the YouTube channel and podcast, you know that I'm a huge Flash fan. Flash 82 was my first Flash comic book, but also my first comic book that I ever read as a kid. So the character Flash, specifically Wally West, has always had a very special place in my heart. In my comic book reading, I've always read a Flash comic through the good and the bad. There's Mark Waid, who wrote that first Flash comic I read, Jeff Johns, and Joshua Williamson. Those are my three Flash writers that I look to. Now, while I started reading Wally, I've grown to love the character of Barry Allen. I think what Jeff Johns did, and then what Williamson really expanded on when he took over the book during the Rebirth era, has been nothing short of phenomenal. The love that Williamson has for not just the Flash, but the entire Flash family of characters is evident throughout his entire run. I'm so sad that he ended it, but I'm so grateful for all these amazing Flash comics that we've had for the 4+ years that he's been doing it. I can't think of another way to talk about the ending other than to go through these two books, because they both came out same day. This is the actual end of his Flash run, Flash 762. This is his final word on Wally West. If you've heard me talk about Wally and what they've been doing with him over the past couple years at DC, I have not been happy with it. Heroes in Crisis, as a story, it's a great story. Didn't really like that Wally was the one that had to be the one that killed all the people in that storyline. And then don't even get me started on Flash Forward. I did not care for that series at all. I think that anything that was Flash related should have been Williamson. That's my opinion. He didn't do it, but he got to do it with this issue. Holy shit, what a fantastic job he did with this one. I'm gonna go into a little bit of them. I realize that this is the final issue of a 101 issue run. Also the final issue in the arc that he did, Finish Line. If you're not reading Metal, you may not know everything that's going on, but I wanted to talk about it just in the sense of like what he did and what he accomplished with these last issues. So let's go through Flash 762 first. First of all, I love the fucking cover. I think that as a final issue, it's very interesting to have this be. Usually you have like some iconic imagery if you're ending an arc or you're ending the series. It's like that iconic image of the hero, but not with this one. I think it's an interesting choice. We see Barry dragging Eobard Thawne, aka the Reverse Flash, Professor Zoom, his bloodied body across the blank white page, and it's just such a striking image because the only color you really have is the Flash logo, and then these two characters draped across the center of the cover. As a final issue, I think it's great. It talks about Barry, or Williamson covers all the bases. He's telling us who Barry is, and harkening back to the day when he got struck by the lightning, and how he always tried to live up to his own legend of who he should be. This is Williamson's final take. He's putting a capstone on the battle between Barry and Eobard, which has gone through years. I mean, he's responsible for killing his mom, which set in motion Barry to go into the past and to create the Flashpoint universe, which kicked off the New 52. This entire run has been about a battle between these two. And to finally see this come to an end, and the way it comes to an end is just it was done in a way that I wasn't really quite expecting, but it definitely nailed the landing. You know, I mean, right even here, he's talking about how they're trapped in a loop of death and rebirth, and every time the universe is rebuilt, there's one constant, and it's you and me. He says to Barry, and it's true, and throughout every Flash run, there's always been a Professor Zoom, and he's always been the source, the main source of the problems going on in Barry's life. So even here, this is harkening back to when Barry in the original Flash run of Barry's run, he killed Professor Zoom. He snapped his neck to get revenge against him for killing Iris. This has got Easter eggs for all the diehard Flash fans. I mean, I could go into it. I don't want to spoil too much of it. I'm just gonna kind of like talk about Flash and a little bit of the stuff that I like that he did. A little bit of the stuff that he did that just blew me away in this issue. And one of the things is right here, which takes place is, Barry decides to go a different route than he has in the past. Doesn't kill him, doesn't put him in jail. He forgives him. And this fucking throws Eobard completely. It blows him away. He can't even believe it. I mean, the look of shock on his face is just insane. It's just so funny. Barry's letting go of the hate, and I think that that's such a great message because Barry is a symbol of hope. He and the Flash family are always have a smile. They're while they have these amazing abilities and run fast, they are right down on Earth with the rest of the people. And that's been talked about with Barry. That's been talked about with Wally. How they're really blue collar heroes. And he lets go of the hatred, which was definitely unexpected. Especially if you look at that cover, you're expecting something completely different. But Williamson just hits you with the jab, dude, and like gives you something you didn't think you were gonna see. And Eobard doesn't want to let that go, and he says their hate is forever. And Barry's not giving into it, man. And what he does next is again a really dope use of the powers because he vibrated as Eobard runs through him, and he pulls the speed force into himself, just like when he created Flashpoint. Realizes he can never save his mother, he can't save Eobard, and he's gonna give Eobard something that he took from Barry, and it's peace. And as all speedsters have, they all have lightning rods that grounds them to Earth. Barry has Iris, Wally had Linda, and now he made himself Thawne's lightning rod, which is pretty fucking crazy. And as he disappears, we're taken back to the 25th century, and Eobard, not in the costume, doesn't have the memory that he's the Flash, and he's the curator of the Flash Museum. Even as he's talking about Reverse Flash, he doesn't even know that he was the Reverse Flash. Barry has taken that from him. And, as he's sitting there and imagining like what it would be like to be in the Flash family, I think it's a pretty cool way to end this particular battle between Barry and Eobard, to end it with him kind of forgetting and in awe of Barry still. And, as Barry goes, he makes sure everything's fixed and what was the way that it was before. I think, and as we see him running, we see this too, which is the gravestone of August Hart, aka Godspeed, but the gravestone is erased, which is weird. I don't know. Maybe that's to leave it open-ended, in case he wants to bring Godspeed back. And he realizes there's a case that he still needs to solve for Heather Macy. It was the night Wally returned, and he said he suspected Thawne was the culprit. As we get to the end, he sees that Heather Macy is alive. But she tells him, Macy's not my last name. I just never changed it. My husband's name is Thawne. And it's like the last joke. He's like, so he was investigating an ancestor of Thawne's. You have to love that aspect of Flash, the time travel. And it's always been one of my favorite aspects of the book because I love time travel stuff, all those kind of stories. Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies. So anything that involved with time travel, I really love. Right here at the end, the entire Flash family from across generations, Bart, Wallace, Jay and Irie, Jay and Joan are here. The entire family is here. And we even have them talking about the new forces that Williamson introduced as well. See, Barry's dad is there. Iris is saying Wally should be here. And Barry even tells her that he heard his voice when he saved him from Thawne, promising Iris that he's gonna find him. This promise leads him to speed metal eventually, and that's why I think it's perfect to talk about right at the end of this run, because it really is the capstone of the run. See kind of a tease for things to come with Dr. Alchemy, and as Barry is about to leave, he goes inside and he's talking to somebody. We don't know who it is. And he talks about never putting on the costume because of suffering or tragedy. He did it because of what you taught me. And who's he talking to? He's talking to his mom. And I think that that's another beautiful moment that Williamson gave to all of us. He's letting go of the past, looking to the future. And then we get one last run as we exit the book. Real quick before I get out of this issue, of course, story by Joshua Williamson, Howard Porter, hi-fi and colors, Steve Wands on letters. And I loved this. This was such an amazing way to end it. We have Flash running, and he's running on all the covers of this entire Flash run. We got a little note from Joshua thanking everyone, including readers and everyone that worked on him. It was the greatest race of his life. And that's Flash 762. Now let's talk about speed metal. I don't really want to read all the death metal tie-ins, but there was no way in hell I was going to miss this, especially when I knew Williamson was writing it, especially when I knew Wally was going to be a part of it. Right off the bat, the return of Wally is talked about from that Rebirth special. And I remember when I first read this, I could not contain my excitement. Wally is my favorite character in comic books, and to finally get him to return to the DCU was amazing. So we get the quick backstory of how Wally is to where he is now. Talks about, this was from the Titans run that took place where, he found out that Abracadabra was responsible for him losing his memories. Not Dr. Manhattan, who was responsible for stealing the time from the DCU. And the battle between Wally and Barry and Flash War. This is the scene from Heroes in Crisis. This was the scene from the Flash Forward series I did not like, even though at the end he was redeemed in some ways and got his kids back and saved them, had a new mission to fix the timeline, and now sits on the chair of Metron. Yes, I know a lot of stuff is going on in these 2 pages, but it makes sense. Wally's, talking about all of these things, how he had wanted to move forward, but he felt something missing, and how he was hurting people he loved, and it drove him to mistakes, and how he's trying to redeem himself. And then we see, the Batman Who Laughs is responsible for what's happening in death metal. He tries to steal the Mobius chair. Wally gets trapped, and Wonder Woman saves him, and she reunites him with Barry and Jay, which, by the way, was my favorite part of, I think it was issue 1 of Metal. I think that was the best part, was them being reunited. Again, I don't want to spoil too much of this story, especially because this is, tied into a lot of what's going on in Metal, but I have to talk about it because, this is a Wally-centric story, and I absolutely cannot believe Williamson was able to tie all this together and give Wally a fitting kind of capstone to the past few years of what has been going on with him. So Joshua Williamson's the writer, as I said. Eddie Barros is the penciler. Ibra Ferreira is the inker. Adriano Lucas is the colorist. Steve Wands is the letterer. So, I love that Jay's back in the picture. This whole mission is to get the Mobius chair back, because the Batman Who Laughs is trying to steal the anti-crisis energy that's inside Wally. I know this is a lot of like crazy shit I'm telling you guys, but it really is like, you don't even need to read Metal to really enjoy this story, because like I said, it's all about Wally and elevating him back to where he should be, which is one of the best heroes in the DCU. And they're being chased by all these dark flashes. And, the whole time, Barry was telling Wally that they can't go to him. You know what I mean? Like, that they need to keep running, and they can't let the Batman Who Laughs capture them. Wally realizes that he's got to do something, and he shouts out the equation from Johnny Quick and Jesse Quick that enables those 2 heroes to access the Speed Force. It's actually the Speed Force formula. And Barry says, all you're doing is buying maybe a few minutes, and And the moment time restarts, we're gonna be done running. And Wally tells him that they're out of options and they don't have any choice. They have to do something now. And again, of course, just like when what happened in Flash, where they start fighting, Jay tells him, "Man, Flashes don't fight. We have to figure something out." So instead of running away from them, Wally suggests we run through them to get the fucking chair. Barry says absolutely not. He's fighting it. And Wally says that if he won't run with him, then he'll go alone. And it wouldn't be the first time. I mean, Wally is the faster of the two of them. I mean, that's been proven too in the comic books. And Wally is a hero in his own right. He was the Flash. He stepped out of Barry's shadow. You know, Jay tells him to go talk to Wally. And Wally tells him, you know, I've saved the multiverse more times than he can count. By himself, with the Flash family, with the Justice League. And he always felt like he was running behind Barry. And that was never Barry's intention when he came back. You know, and he says, like, you know, sometimes he forgets that, you know, Wally grew from Kid Flash to Flash. And he is his own man now. And he's just afraid of losing him. And he doesn't want that to ever happen again. And right here he's briefly talking about the events of Flash 762. I loved this scene. They come together. He says, whatever we do it together. And again, just another fucking powerful moment between these two amazing characters. Williamson knocks it out of the park again. Then all of a sudden their costumes are changing, and it's because of what the Batman Who Laughs is doing. He's putting pressure on the Speed Force, and he's trying to corrupt them. So they go and they're running their race, man, and they're going straight for it. And this is in every crisis and every DC event, the Flashes are always at the heart of it. They are always with one of the most important missions, and this is one of the most important missions of this specific event, because they cannot let the Batman Who Laughs get that Mobius chair, because then he will destroy the multiverse completely. And as they're fighting, whatever you do, never stop running, and just the constant motivation, the constant hope that, you know, emanates from these pages of never giving up, showing them why we're the fastest men alive. And, you know, as they're running, Jay can't keep running anymore. He stays back to give them a head start. Barry's saying they'll come back. Wallace can't make it anymore either. As they lose those two, Barry gives him his speed to kind of boost Wally to continue running. There's no way in hell Wally's going to let Barry's sacrifice mean nothing. And he talks about how these Dark Flashes want him scared and to focus on his setbacks and struggles, but he doesn't do that. And instead, we get his classic Flash costume, and I cannot even tell you how fucking stoked I was when I saw this. This 2-page spread. Instantly, once I got to this part, I'm like, I know that this is my favorite single issue of the year. We see all these memories of Flash, you know, with the Flash family, with Max Mercury and Jesse Quick and Impulse and Jay Garrick, you know, back when Wally was Flash. We see the watch that Barry gave him. We see Wally with Linda and the twins as a young boy running beside Barry. When he first met Barry, like, all these memories are coming back to him. And he calls all of them his lightning rods. And all he needs is one more second. Pushes through, gets to the Mobius chair, and gives him the rock symbol. But, like, in my mind, I'm thinking, man, dude, if this was a mature reader's level, he's probably giving him the finger. And to get away from the Batman Who Laughs, he takes the Mobius chair into the Speed Force. And he talks about how he was once lost, but that he will find his way back to his family again. Last time he felt peace, but this time he feels hope. And he hears a couple voices, and we see the entire Flash family. And then Barry tells him, when you got to the chair, you pulled us out of the fire, and he pulled everybody into the Speed Force to save them. And this embrace between Wally and Linda and his kids, and seeing all of the Flash family together again, it was just such a beautiful moment. Full of heart, full of hope. And this is what comics are about, man. Just like the lines, you know, how she says, the kid said you had a blue costume, sounded nice. And she said, doesn't matter what you're wearing, you're still my Flash. Seeing Impulse and Wally together, Wallace and Wally, Iris and Wally, Max and Wally, just all of these moments just made this book something really special. Now he has to take the chair back to Wonder Woman, which is going to lead into, I'm sure, I think the next issue of Metal. So he puts on the blue costume again, and this time he doesn't do it alone. And as Barry begins to run, he asks Wally if he's ready to run, and Wally says, lead the way, and Barry says, no, I think you got it covered. It's your turn. And we get this beautiful final page with Barry, Wally, and Jay running, and the to be continued in Death Metal 4. And that was the Speed Metal special, Flash 762, the end of Joshua Williamson's epic run. I can't even describe to you how happy I am with this ending. It's rare when you get a really good ending to a creator's run, but Williamson went out with a bang. Couldn't be happier. For those of you that aren't already, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Comic Lounge. Throw your comments or suggestions down below, or you can email us your comments and suggestions, thecomicloungepod@gmail.com. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you're notified every time we put up a new video. And also follow our podcast on Podbean, iTunes, and Spotify. And on that note, I'm out.